Hi. So this is for Quigley 45100, who made an enthusiastic request having to do with the mandolin. So even though I don't actually know how to play the mandolin, I decided this would be a fun opportunity to share some ideas you might enjoy. So I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but really, like, what I have in mind is to help you with some ideas that you can use to pick up an instrument you don't know how to play, and kind of just poke around and find a few notes that work, and maybe join in with people who are already playing some music. So let me show you how that works. This is mostly about how to do that with fretted instruments. So fretted instruments have this really unique thing. So I just want to make sure you know, when it comes to mandolin, I don't actually know how to play it. The funny thing is, though, about every 2 or 3 years, well, no, I pick it up more often than that. Every 2 or 3 years, I relearn what the notes are. I don't actually remember what they are. I can figure it out if I think, because it's like the lowest 4 strings on the guitar only backwards, or you know. But I don't really want to know what notes they are, because my point is, you can find notes you like even if you don't know what the notes are. Even if you do know what the notes are on your instrument, but you don't know what key you're in, you can do this too. And the cool thing about fretted instruments is that when you were playing a major scale, if you just remember most of the notes, you're going to skip a fret. So if I pick any string, don't know what note that is, I'm playing the second pair of strings, play open, then if I skip the first fret, that's going to give me the next note in that scale. And if I skip another fret, I have 3 notes. And then after the third note in a major scale, you do a half step, which is 1 fret. So you can figure out pretty quick, even with the first 3 notes. I can't pick this very well. You can do a lot with just the first 3 notes. But if you want to figure out the whole scale, you can figure it out like that. So like, say you get 1, 2, 3. We've been skipping frets. The next note, 4, 3 and 4 are next to each other in a major scale. Then just, you know, expect when you go up and down, it would be good to improvise with we call it stepwise. And so once you get past the 4th note, just make some more whole steps, skip a fret, and then if you have some experience, you'll kind of hear when it's time for that other half step. And if you don't hear it, let's say you make a mistake. Oh, you know, if it sounds bad, go to a different note. So the cool thing is that, I mean, you may have heard, like, when the song's in a particular key, there's, 12 notes, or I mean, there's 8 notes in that scale, 7 or 8 depending on how you count it. And so no matter what note you play, you've got about, let's see, 7 plus 5, 7 out of 12, that's your chances of hitting a note that's in that scale. And then even some of the notes that aren't in the scale sound pretty good. So truly, you can just poke around. And if you skip a fret a lot of the time, and then just, let it be okay to play a note that doesn't sound good. And just discover which notes you like and which notes you don't like. So I have a backing track I've made for us, and I'm just going to demonstrate poking around and learning which notes I like. 2, 3, 4. So I'm just going to pick any note and see if I like it or not. That one sounded okay. That's the second string. That. I didn't like that one, so I won't hit that one again. Oh, I didn't like those there, so I like these. So I'm gonna use those quite a bit. Let me try another string. Nope, didn't like that one. Ah, I like that one, so I'm gonna remember 7th fret there. Nope. I didn't like that one, so I'll go higher. Ooh, I like those. Okay, so some of them sounded good and some of them didn't sound so good. And I'll admit it's a little easier having played music for a while, and there's some things I'm looking for. But I want to make sure you know about this book. I haven't reviewed it yet on Everyone Can Jam, but I probably will soon. And it's called The Music Lesson. It's written by Victor Wooten. I can't recommend it. I don't know how to say how important it is to read this book. The only thing I'm not sure of is for an absolute beginner, it depends. And I would like to hear back from you if you're an absolute beginner and you read this book. I'm sure if you've played for a while, it's not necessary to understand music theory, but if you've heard people talk about what key you're in, or trying to know what notes to play because you know what key you're in, stuff like that, he just totally throws that out the window and says, you just need a backing track and play a chromatic scale, which is, chromatic scale is if you play every fret. So you can play up or down, start on any note. Does that sound, see, I just accidentally got that. That's one of the passages in the song we were just, bum, bum, bum. And you can play around on chromatic scales until sometimes just the chromatic scale sounds good, or you can discover the notes that harmonize. I picked a backing track that has lots of chords on purpose because I wanted to be challenging, and I really wanted to be poking around. But really, with that backing track, I think anything in the E minor pentatonic scale would work. So if you also are familiar with scales and you know what your E minor pentatonic scale is, that would work. So let's pretend, okay, well, we're not pretending. I actually am playing the mandolin, or trying to. We're going to take something, on some of my other videos we learned about the pentatonic scale, that it's made out of 2 notes and 3 notes. So remembering that, I'm going to find just 5 notes that I, with my limited understanding of this instrument, can use to play around. So here's the E note. Here's another E. So I'm going to look for an E note. If you can match pitch, you can do this. If you can't match pitch, just know that you can't match pitch yet. Everything that you feel like you can't do, just always say yet if you say that. Because you can learn to match pitch. So I'm going to look for an E. I don't know where the E is. Okay, there's one. But I think I'd like a lower one. So I'm going to look. Okay, so here's an E. Since we're in E minor pentatonic, E is our home. And when we find the note that is home, we want to go down a whole step, which means we skip that fret, play the open strings. So for E minor pentatonic, you could play just, maybe I'll play that backing track a little bit. Well, this is getting kind of long. Whenever you're in E minor, or whatever pentatonic scale you're in, if you find your 2, this is my home, whole step lower, home. You can get a lot of mileage out of those 2 notes. And going in a straight line, this is nice because we can go in a straight line up the string. Your next note higher, you're going to skip 2 frets. See, it's a step and a half. And then once you find that next note higher, that's where you get your set of 3. And the set of 3, this is the same shape as on guitar, skipping a fret in between each one. Now you don't normally play, you can play all on one string, and you can learn a lot that way. But to really play, you know, when you really get going, you want to find how to get these same notes, probably on the next string higher. So no, you know, these higher strings, these higher notes, they're going to be on the second string somewhere. That one won't be on the second string because it's not high enough. So this note here, we're discovering, is the same pitch as the second set of strings. So instead of getting that note there, we just learned it's the same pitch as that string. Now we've got something easy we can do. There's our 2. And if we want to go up from there, let's see. Yeah, that's right. 3 notes. There's our 3. There's our 2. And we accidentally discovered that one too. And remember, whenever you have your set of 3, the note in the middle is right next, there's your blue note. 1, 2, 3. The one right here between the second and third of that set is your blue note. So let's try to find that one. So remember, this is our set of 3. Let's find those with the other fingering. So this is the third one. 1, 2, 3. So the one right is going to be our blue note. Whoops. There's our 2. 1, 2, 3. Or we could go. Alright, so let me know. Oh, I also wanted to mention there's some other instruments that are pretty easy to pick up and play around with too. This is a penny whistle. It won't work very well with this backing. Well, it depends on what key you have. But this is a C, so I can't demonstrate with this backing track. But, you know, you can kind of seek out instruments that are easy to play. This one, for example, if you cover them all, you get a C. I think it's a C. And then if you pick up one finger, it just goes up the scale one note at a time. So no expert on penny whistles, but you only need a few notes to play around. That was just 3 notes, and if you have a nice backing track, you know what key you're in, you can play with somebody who's playing some chords. So let me know if that's helpful or not. The main thing is to just play, and like Victor Wooten would say, there's no such thing as a wrong note. It's music. We live in a culture where many of us are taught, like, do the right thing, don't ever do the wrong thing. Whatever you do, don't make a mistake. And that sort of drifts over into our music making. And, you know, I myself for many years was so paralyzed when it came to improv that, and I finally figured out one problem was I wanted to know what the right note was before I played it, because no, I did not want to make a mistake and play anything wrong.